I went and scraped all that off with my sheetrock knife, you know, all the way around, on the sides too, and the end. And once I did that, since I had my little emery cloth, I just sanded that a little bit, because the sheetrock knife might put in any little slight gouges, hardly anything. But when you're using a putty knife, you know, for spackling or whatever, last thing you want is to hit an edge. You want this nice and tight edge, you know, with no little grooves in it or little gouges. And so since I had the emery cloth here, I just thought I'd clean this up a little bit. Okay? Oh, beauty. That's all ready for my next little project, whatever it is. I got quite the mess going on here. And see, there's my little staging area for my liquid nails. Now I can just fold that together like that, and I can throw that away. Okay? Just, you know, something quick and easy to think about. Last thing you want is for this to get all over the place. You don't want anybody to step in that. If you don't have a garbage can, just make sure you do something to it so that it's not going to get all over. Now see, this is how I'm going to leave my caulking. You know, I spooged some of this out, and I just kind of formed a mound on here, and it's going to have a tendency to slide down. But just get your finger wet, and then you can kind of rearrange this. If you use a dry finger, it sticks all over on you. And then you try to dry that off, and pretty soon it gets all over. I got some on myself from the project, you know. You do it right, you'll be ready for your next project. Remember how our patch looked before we started making the patch? This is looking not half bad. I kind of like that. This patch is really starting to come together. I like using the heavy-duty liquid nails for that, my clamps and everything else. Doesn't that look a whole lot better? Once we let that dry, do a little sanding on the edge and some paint touch-up, we'll be good to go. Am I done with you yet on this project? Heck no. I know you want to see the rest of it, don't you? I've got to come back for that. So stay tuned. I'll be back with more of this video. The next day. I got to get this thing done. Alright, that turned out pretty good. Now I'm just going to lightly file this edge just to make it smooth. And I wasn't sure if this liquid nails was going to sand down and rasp down clean, and it does if you let it set long enough, you know. Gotta let it get hard. Then you can file it down a little bit. I know I already showed you this once, but this is after putting the rest of the mastic, the heavy-duty liquid nail on there. And I'm just going to lightly sand this. We'll make it nice and slick, and the paint will still stick on it, and we'll make the liquid nail patch a little bit smoother. And I don't usually paint over liquid nails, but because it's such a small area, I'm going to try it this time. Worst case scenario, I may have to touch it up later, but I don't think I'm gonna. I think this is gonna accept the paint. I wouldn't use liquid nail to do any big sort of patches at eye level or anything like that. There's all kinds of products you can use, but for this little patch here, I thought this is gonna work out. Okay, plus the liquid nail closed up all the pores on the hardboard veneer. And I like that. I put a little skin over that, and that's gonna hopefully keep that down, so when it gets any moisture on it, it's gonna go over the top of that and slide right off the door. You know, so I shouldn't have another problem at this area with this veneer lifting again. Had I used just caulking or some sort of material like caulk, it might have had a tendency to peel up. Now, this liquid nail, I don't think it's going to do that. That's because I use the interior, exterior, heavy duty. Gotta use that stuff. I'm glad I have some touch-up paint for this. Same color, it's going to match and everything. I'll probably have to put 2 little coats over that. Now, what are you going to use for a paintbrush? I could use, this is just a throwaway 99-cent paintbrush, and I could use that. You know, if you don't have a paintbrush, you could even use a paper towel. I'm going to try that on this side here and show you how that works. You just take that and kind of dab it on there. So, or a, you know, a little artist's brush, say that 5 times fast. You know? Little brush, anything. You don't have to go to the store and buy a $10 paintbrush to do a little patch, okay? Whatever's close by at hand you can use. This is at the bottom edge of the door, and as long as you get it on there halfway decent, it should be fine. Again, if we were doing a patch up high on the door at eye level or something like that, I'd have to use a professional paintbrush and mix up the paint really super good and do some, I might have to put some primer on there and different things, and maybe paint the entire edge of the door, the style of the door, or the entire door to blend it all in. But because this is at the bottom, we're just gonna touch that up. Now, if you don't have any paint touch-up, what else could you use? You could use something like this. This is called a poly seam seal. And this is designed for tub and tile, high gloss, kitchen and bath sealant. And I would use something like that and maybe just skin over that and put a couple coats on that, kind of blend it in. And that could work in a pinch if you don't have any paint. So think about your project, and remember, I always tell you there's always 2 ways to do a patch, or 2 ways to do pretty much anything. So if you don't have something on the first way that you want to do it, you know, think about it and say, okay, how else could I do that? And maybe you'll come up with something. See how well this takes to the paint. There was a little discoloration up here where the water had kind of bled through the back side. So I just want to kind of put on enough paint there to hide that. And are you going to get a perfect job when you do a patch? No, you're not. But you're going to get it. You're going to get it close. I'm trying to wipe off some of the paint on my brush so I can get it on there a little bit better. See, there's some lines on there because I'm using a cheap paintbrush. And that's why I'm trying to feather out the lines. When it dries, it should be fine. You know? If I was using my really good paintbrush, I could have done that too. You know? But I thought I would do it with this little cheapo paintbrush. It looks like I'm going to have to let this dry and put on a couple coats. Okay, now it won't take very long for that to dry. You know, once you touch it, all it has to be is dry to the touch. And then you're okay to put a second coat on there. So I'm going to let that dry. If you do this other side, I know I told you I was going to do that with a paper towel. So let's see how that works as a paintbrush. Just got a paper towel, got a little bit of paint on there. I'm going to use that as my paintbrush. I know you can do that. You kind of wipe off any excess. Just blending it in. It's like I need just a hair more paint, not much. A little dab will do you. Man, that almost works better than that cheap paintbrush I had. Okay, I think I'm going to use this on the other side on the next coat. Makes it nice and smooth, no brush lines. And I got it just on that edge. I didn't have to go up high and blend it in, you know, when you do that with the paintbrush. Okay? Not bad. Am I done with you yet? Not a chance. I'll show you the rest in a minute.